Welcome into Sports Fundamentals Betting Podcast for Wednesday, August 7th. We are talking with Andrew McGinnis, talking CFL, every game on the board. Andrew, welcome into the pod. How are you?
Hey, Drew, doing really good. Another week talking about CFL. And we're finally seeing some changes, a couple upsets last week. It was an interesting week in the league. But once again, Drew, I talk about this every single week with you, it seems. We're seeing some injuries, man, and it's tough to see. But, we move on and we talk about it, and then we'll break things down from a betting perspective. How are you?
I'm doing good, and we got a four-game card this weekend, starting off on Thursday. We got 2 on Friday, and we got 1 on Saturday. Starting off here Thursday, Calgary Stampeders, Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Blue Bombers minus, man, there's a wide range of numbers out here. We got -8, -9, seeing a 7.5 as well. So some opinion in the marketplace on this Blue Bombers Stampeders game sidewise. Total of 48 or 48.5 here, McGinnis. What are you thinking?
Yeah, absolutely, Drew. It's all across the board. A different number at a lot of different shops. And, look at the opening number for this one. The Bombers opened up as 10-point favorites. And when I look at this one, it's kind of like, looking at this Winnipeg team, the way that they've kind of fallen off a little bit and seeing what they've done over the past few weeks. They got upset against Hamilton in week 7. That kind of started things off for them. But it was very, very interesting to see the Toronto Argonauts got their first win of the season, 28-27 over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. That is the worst team in the league, defeating the best team in the league for their first victory on the season. It was huge news. It was a great game to watch. Very interesting, though. Got to pat myself on the back a little bit here, Drew, because I had the first half with Winnipeg -8. I was able to cover that number, and Winnipeg ends up losing that game outright. So the second half was all Toronto. Got to give lots of credit to McLeod Bethel-Thompson, the guy that I've kind of been pretty tough on so far this year, but he definitely stepped things up, and kind of a good week for him to step things up because they picked up Zach Collaros, and when he's healthy, of course, he'll be taking over as the QB1. But Bethel-Thompson, 75% passing percentage, 343 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and no interceptions. S.J. Green, a great game from him. Finally saw him getting involved with 10 receptions, and that's what they need. So that was good to see. But you look at this Winnipeg team, they're falling off defensively. They're kind of allowing more points than usual. Their offense has been kind of shutting down a little bit. Matt Nichols has not really looked like himself. And Calgary, they're settling in a little bit. To me, this is a great team that is definitely getting far, far too many points. I like Calgary here. Bo Levi Mitchell is back practicing, Drew, but he's not fully healthy. They're going to go back to Nick Arbuckle. I believe this will be his last week as a starting quarterback for this team. But now at Sun Spots, I'm looking at 5 dimes right now, +9. That's a great number, and I think that's not giving nearly enough credit to this Calgary Stampeders team. That just went right in against Edmonton and took care of things and got the job done. So I'm going to go ahead with a lean here on the Calgary Stampeders. We're going to grab them plus the points. But I'll tell you, Drew, I also do like the total in this one. Until Winnipeg can prove to me that their defense is back to the way it used to be, I'm going to go ahead and grab this over. I think we expect a good bounce-back performance offensively for the Bombers. Calgary starting to figure things out. Arbuckle looking back to being his old self, firing things downfield, going deep, and spending less time making his decisions, making his reads, and kind of trusting himself a lot more these days. So 48, a relatively low total for these two teams. We're going to go with Calgary plus the points and the over in this one.
All right, we got 2 games on Friday. First one up, 7 p.m. Eastern kick, Saskatchewan Roughriders, Montreal Alouettes, 50.5 the total. Seeing 2.5 or 2, the Roughriders laying on the road.
Yeah, interesting game here. I mean, you got the Montreal Alouettes, 3-3 right now straight up, but 4-2 against the spread. Saskatchewan 4-3 straight up, 5-2 against the spread. 2 teams that are succeeding, doing pretty well, especially against the number. But when I look at this one here, I mentioned off the top, quarterback injuries. They've been a topic of hot conversation with the CFL for several weeks now, and we see another quarterback go down. Vernon Adams Jr. Takes a late hit. He's pretty much sliding. He's just going, trying to stop the play, get the first down, and a late hit comes in again. Concussion for him, and it's just tough to see. Seeing numerous reports about him. He's going to be out for a few weeks at least, or they're in protocol right now and taking some time away from the game from him. And we're going to finally see, what this QB battle can be again with Antonio Pipkin and Matthew Schultz. And the funny thing is, Pipkin came into the league this year, or came into, this season as the starter. He was the number one guy. And he went down with a leg injury for, I believe 5 weeks. And now looking at this battle, it's Schultz versus Pipkin in practice. And a lot of times I love to see that because it brings the competitiveness, Drew. But one thing I don't like is Kahari Jones is saying, I'm not sure who we're going to roll with. He thinks that he might even play both players. And I've never really been a fan of that. I like to have just one guy in there, especially this far into the season. I don't want to see more than one guy in there, especially, if we're this far into the season and these teams are trying to, establish their positions. It's a very competitive Eastern Division right now. I don't want to see Schultz and Pipkin. I want the practice to kind of let that do the talking, how these players are looking in practice, and then decide then and go into the game with a starter. But to me, that's something I'm going to really be focusing on. I think either way, it's a huge loss. If Pipkin is in the game, he's coming off that injury. Kahari Jones admits that he's not looking like his old self right now. It'll take some time. Matthew Schultz has never really been elite, but he looked like he's doing pretty good in practice, so we might see him. We've got a team like Saskatchewan, though, and they're just deep. Their whole receiving core can get the job done. I like them here. It's a pretty far travel spot, from one coast to another, from Saskatchewan to Montreal. But it's not like they're getting too many points. You're pretty much laying a single point or 2 points with the Roughriders, the visitors. And I'm going to go ahead and back the Roughriders, the visiting team in this one, and find that this spot here, Drew. If we saw these two teams playing each other maybe 5 weeks ago, and I told you Saskatchewan was only 1 point favorites, you'd call me crazy. But what we've seen out of Montreal this past few weeks has really proved that they are a decent team. They can put up some points and get some stops, but they're nowhere near Saskatchewan's level, and we'll see that here this upcoming weekend. So we're going to go ahead and back Saskatchewan in the first part of our doubleheader on Friday.
All right, McGinnis, sounds good on the first part of the doubleheader on Friday. And before we get to the second part, do want to give all the CFL listeners out there a coupon code WEEK29. That's WEEK29 will give you 7-day all access with Andrew McGinnis's service for just $29. That's $70 off, guys, at his handicapper page on sportsmemo.com. That coupon code is WEEK29 for his 7-day all-access package. We got Ottawa Redblacks, Edmonton Eskimos up next. Eskimos seeing -8 at Pinnacle, as high as -10 right now at some shops, McGinnis. So some more opinion here on this Eskimos Redblacks game. Total of 47.5.
Drew, I think this is going to be the week of the dogs. We're seeing far too many points being laid for a lot of teams that aren't really used to covering big numbers. I want to throw out a little bit of stuff on this Ottawa team right now about their game last week against Montreal Alouettes, because many people were down on Ottawa. They had a few really bad weeks. Of course, Dominic Davis came back in as a starter and did a pretty good job. I mean, he started off rusty. He had 2 interceptions, but he really settled in and moved the ball around really well, and I felt like he looked very comfortable in the pocket. But lots of credit goes to this entire receiving core. But we got to look at the punt return. Devontae Dedmon, 189 yards, that opening touchdown. It was unbelievable, Drew. I hope you had a chance to see the highlight, or all of our listeners out there were able to see it, but that's a way to spark back your offense. That's a way to get your team on the board. Devontae Dedmon's a guy you want to be looking out for now over the next few weeks. He'll be getting the ball in his hands much, much more. We saw Noel Thomas get going. Dominic Rhymes finally kind of stepping up, doing what he's expected. And Caleb Hawley, a guy that we haven't been seeing as much these days, but he's a guy I'm really going to rely on for this Ottawa team. And they put up 30 points against an Alouettes team that's been looking pretty strong defensively. So I was happy to see that out of them. And as far as this Edmonton team goes, what a disappointing game for them last week. Wasn't liking what I was seeing from them. They had a despicable first half against Calgary. They only put up 18 points in that full game, made Calgary's defense look far better than it was. But we got to talk about it. It has to be mentioned. This will be Trevor Harris's first game against his former team, the Redblacks. Also, Greg Ellingson's first game against his former team. I'm staying away from this side here, Drew. but I'm going to go with the over 48 in this one, 47.5 at some shops. I expect some points in this one. Ottawa look like they're back and rolling again, putting up some points. Edmonton at home, we know what they can do, and I certainly expect things to, be going for long balls. I expect Trevor Harris to be at his best. And if we look at this Edmonton team, points for hasn't been their issue. It's been points against. It's been all over the place. One game, they're having a great defensive performance. The next game, they're allowing an easy 27. So I expect a high-scoring, touchdown-filled game in this one. So we're going to go ahead and grab the over as our play on this game.
All right, McGinnis, last game up, Saturday night's game, 7 p.m. Eastern kick here. BC Lions, Hamilton Ticats. Ticats minus 11 to as high as minus 12.5. Make sure you're shopping on these numbers, guys, this weekend with the CFL. Seeing a lot of opinion, way more than normal. 51.5 being the total here, McGinnis. Why don't you, this is the last game, so in conclusion, what do you got?
Yeah, this one opened up here as, plus 14 dogs for BC Lions, and that's kind of the number I was looking at, the spot that I was looking at. Recording this podcast here now and looking at the live odds and the live numbers, we're still going to go ahead and roll with the BC Lions. We talked about it, in depth about the Hamilton Ticats losing Jeremiah Masoli, Dane Evans in as the new quarterback. He wasn't horrible, but he was no Jeremiah Masoli. And, the injury-filled Hamilton Ticats, getting this amount of points is very, very questioning to me. I still think that the BC Lions, I said at the beginning of the year, have a good team. And, if someone asks me why right now, it's hard to explain. 1-6 straight up, 1-6 against the spread. But they're going to prove this weekend that number is far too big. That's disrespect, Drew, for this BC Lions to be getting, that many points, to be laying that many points for Hamilton. I don't like to see it. So we're going to go ahead and back BC. Get on it now if you like BC. The best number, I believe, now is plus 12.5. Grab that and watch the ticket cash, because I can't see Hamilton blowing any team out of the water right now. If they secure that win, it'll be by a field goal, maybe a touchdown, but definitely not by 12, 13 points. We're wrapping things up with the BC Lions plus the points.
Lions plus the points to finish it up in the CFL. And guys, just a reminder here, we got the coupon code WEEK29 at checkout for McGinnis's 7-day all-access package. He's got CFL and what, McGinnis? You got a bunch of tennis coming out as well?
Yeah, the Rogers Cup, man. It's going to be a great few weeks here. Games every single day. It's just the opening round was today. I have a play starting at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Looking forward to that. And we're lower volume with it, Drew, but it's something great that I've been handicapping for a long, long time and started giving out to clients now. We've been doing pretty good so far. So be on the lookout for that at the website, and that will be included in my 7-day all-access pass.
Good stuff, McGinnis. Check it out, sportsmemo.com. Andrew McGinnis's handicapper page, week 29 at checkout is the coupon code week29 for a 7-day all access for just $29. Best of luck with your bets, guys. Thanks for tuning in.